from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Happy, what is today? Tuesday? Happy Tuesday to you. Welcome to the program. If you want to join our late night national town hall conversation, give me a call. Here's the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And I want to, obviously, get into the news of the day, but I want to go off the beaten path a little bit because sometimes I get a little fatigued by the same stuff and these, little nuances on the same stuff. So the John Bolton stuff, you tell me, what do you expect to come of this? Right? We're going to find out that this guy's dirty. I think we've known that. We're going to find out that he was leaking information, that he was taking information, he was sharing it with the press, he was using it to do what? To advance his own political agenda, to maintain power. That's what politicians do. And will he get in trouble? Maybe. Maybe he gets in trouble because it's a national security thing. But again, I always ask the same question. When was the last time you saw a politician really get in trouble who wasn't a Trumper, right? It's only the Trumpers that get in trouble. So I'm not holding my breath on anything, but I'm glad that they're exposing him for what he is, because people inside the Beltway know how it works. People who listen to talk radio and, who watch certain podcasts, they're all in the know. They know what's going on. But there's a lot of people out there that just don't know how insidious this deep state is. Every time I use that term, somebody somewhere always makes a comment. Oh, and who is this deep state? How do you define the deep state? Right? Because they don't like it. They don't like this idea that there is an abstract group of people, an administrative state, within our government that does a lot, right? They kind of subsist independently. They're there. It doesn't matter who the president is. And there's but so much swamp draining one can do because of civil service jobs and career positions and things of that nature. So your hope is that these people are righteous and they're on the up and up. But the reality is maybe they're not. And that was my genuine experience when I worked in state government. I worked with so many people that, were happy to be my friend until I was too Republican for them, right? Until I was too conservative for them. And then it was like, it's like a different world. They will do anything and everything they can if they feel like it, whatever type of power they have, to make your life impossible. And there's no better example of this than what we saw happen to Donaldus Magnus, El Trompito, the 45th and 47th president of these United States. Hands down, it was a master class in political corruption, the weaponization of government. That's it. Of course, every time they try to turn around and say, oh, no, this is really Trump. Come on, please, do me a favor. If Trump were weaponizing anything, the man that could command a lot of things, and he hasn't gone after all these people, you got little investigations from Congress looking at people. Come on, really? Really? If Trump really wanted retribution and he was really the authoritarian they say he was, many people would have been locked up gulag style. Didn't happen. Why? Because that's not his MO. Trump wants to cut deals, man. That's all he wants to do. Cut deals, see the country prosper so that everyone can prosper and everybody's doing better. And listen, I can get behind that any day of the week. I think things are better when we get along, like he says, Is it a bad thing to get along? No, I agree. It's a good thing. Everything is good when everybody's eating. Everything is good when everybody's making some money. And if I remember correctly, I'm not that old. I'm old enough to remember Trump 1.0, when the median household income went up $6,500, when he put tax cuts into place, where people started spending money again, where interest rates were through the floor, where every last Trump hater that can hear me right now that has a 2%, 3%, 4% mortgage, you weren't hating Trump when you were signing that deal, were you? Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully those are coming back. And again, hopefully. At the time, I was like, we'll never see these again in our lifetime. And that may have been true. However, I think that if the economy continues to grow at the pace that it is, I think the Fed has no choice but to do a rate cut. But again, we would have thought we would have seen something, some sort of movement recently. 0.5 point, perhaps. So now the pressure's on, 2.5 points, 3 points. Will it happen? I don't know. We're close, right? I think September is the mark. We'll see. But my point is, you want to see the country's economic engines on steroids. Let's get to these drilling projects, Let's get to the actual drilling phase and moving those things around. That's going to make some money. That's going to create more jobs. 2% and 3% mortgages, that's going to do a whole lot too. Housing market will probably go up 10, 15, 20%. You'll see housing prices even higher than they are. People selling, people buying. And when the money's cheap, going to banks and getting money so they can buy and sell. I think it's a great thing. God bless America. Not to mention the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, all of these wonderful things that are happening with our financial system to welcome the future. Crypto, quantum, it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fantastic. So I think, being that we are a little more than 200 days into this term, stellar. Being that he took the oath of office on January 20th, and today's the 26th of August. So that's, 7 months and 6 days? Not too shabby, sir. Not too shabby. Give it more time, and I think it's going to go even better. So, anyway, all that being said, there's a couple of things in the news I want to get to. A couple of things I want to get to this evening. First of all, a little bit later, I want to talk about businesses, Cracker Barrel, right? This whole Cracker Barrel controversy. I've never, ever been to a Cracker Barrel, ever. So I've seen the commercial. I've seen them on the side of the road on the highways when I take road trips and all that. I just never been to one. Never had the opportunity. I guess I've had the opportunity. I never had the pleasure, the desire. But it's an interesting story, and we're going to talk about that. I also want to talk about the latest with these crazy people, right? And by crazy people, I mean the crazy people, the crazy people that kill people. So we're going to talk to our forensic psychologist in a little bit about that as well. And then I was scrolling through social media, and I saw the son of Rampage Jackson, who is a UFC fighter I've seen over the years. As a matter of fact, I met him. He came to do an interview. My buddy Guns, Mike Gunzelman, shout out to Guns. And we all worked in the same studio in Manhattan. And Rampage came in, and I was with Mr. Producer from The Mark Levin Show. And I was standing right next to him. His name is Richard Cementa. And Rampage comes in, and Guns goes, "Oh, this is my boy Rich Valdez. This is my boy Rich Cementa." And Rampage goes, "Oh, hold on. Your name Rich? Yeah. Your name Rich? Yeah. I'm sitting here talking to a pair of dicks." And we all erupted into laughter. Not only is the guy tough and incredibly athletic, he's very funny too. And how do you come back from that? This guy is, he's huge. He looks like he goes to the gym, picks his teeth with the 45-pound plates, and then eats people on his way out. I mean, he's a beast. And his son got into some static and was getting beat up on social media. And I took some time and I watched as much footage as I could see. And it seemed like this was really one of those unfortunate situations that lots of people had fault in. It wasn't like one person's fault and we can't go, "Oh, well, that's why you can't." No. This was, people had fault all around. I think it was just a very, very unfortunate situation, a series of bad decisions, very wild. Anyway, we're going to talk about that in a little bit with our buddy Bobby Burrock from Outkick. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
MMA fighter Raja Jackson is reportedly being investigated by the LAPD after appearing to beat his opponent unconscious during a live-streamed wrestling match. Video shows Jackson being accosted by other fighters during the event at KnockX Pro Academy in Sun Valley Saturday night. Jackson's father, former UFC champ Rampage Jackson, apologized on social media on behalf of his son and said he was, quote, very upset about the incident. TMZ reports the other fighter regained consciousness and is recovering in the hospital.
So that report, again, I think it was pretty accurate, right? It was pretty fair, but I didn't hear the report until later. The first thing I saw was a bunch of stuff all over social media, and I see, Raja Jackson beating this guy who's unconscious and wondering why isn't he stopping? Why isn't there a referee? Why isn't anybody getting involved? Then a wrestler jumps in, and we'll get a little bit of a testimony from that wrestler a little bit later. But right now, I want to get some analysis on this from our guest. Bobby Burke is with us. He's an Outkick columnist where he talks about sports and media and culture and politics, and he's with us right now live. Bobby Burke, welcome back, brother.
Rich, happy to be here. It's been too long.
Yes, sir. I agree with that. And talk to me about this. What do you know? What are you hearing with respect to this? Because I'll tell you what I saw and what I heard. It just bad. It was all bad. I mean, from the introduction, the way things went, the way the guy greeted Raja Jackson, hitting him in the face, even if it was, trying to sell for the wrestling stuff. I don't know that he was there for that. He didn't like it. He made it clear he didn't like it. Then the other guy goes, "Oh, you could take it out of him later in the ring." He sure did. I think that was the wrong choice of words. I mean, just so many things that went wrong here. I think there's fault all around. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so Rampage Jackson put out a statement on Saturday saying that his understanding was the other wrestler had hit his son over the head, and he was told he could get, quote, payback. And for some background here, wrestling is a scripted sport, but there's something called a receipt, which is if somebody actually hits you real, historically, you get to give them a receipt back, and you see it sometimes in WWE, although it's pretty uncommon as the years have gone on. But nothing like this. There's no excuse to just keep on punching somebody in the head over and over again when they're defenseless. So I saw that even some other wrestlers say, oh, yeah, this is an old school way of handling things. No, not like that.
Right, and that's where I guess the fault lies on Raja Jackson, right? Where, I mean, he clearly beat the guy up, but then he kept beating him up and kept beating him up. And I'm going to play a clip of audio for you of the wrestler who separated them, and really, it got bad, and it got bad fast. Listen to this.
Rampage Jackson's son tried to kill a man yesterday, and Doug was actually the one who pretty much stepped in and saved them. What actually happened to Stu? How bad are his injuries?
Broken facial bones is from what I'm hearing. Missing teeth. Has no recollection of what happened. Incoherent. And then even from the people closest to it now that I'm disassociating with, they won't even put up the full story. What happened yesterday is he choked on his own blood.
On his own teeth, I heard.
Yeah, teeth and blood.
And he lost all of his teeth, right?
A lot of them, yeah. Broken facial bones. He was out on the slam, and then the guy had made contact multiple times.
So, I mean, obviously very unfortunate for this guy, but I have to say, from what I saw, and I don't know him, and I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just calling it the way I see it, this guy started a big mess by the way he greeted Raja Jackson.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where this whole, as Rampage Jackson would say, payback comes in. I think it's one of the statements, Rich, where two things can be true at once, where maybe the one person isn't blameless, but Raja Jackson is clearly the more egregious defender. I think that cannot be minimized. I mean, watching that video, I think he should be charged with battery, potentially even attempt to murder, because he was unconscious and he just kept on punching. Forget the wrestling ring. If you do that to somebody out on the street and there's witnesses, you absolutely can be charged to the strictest degree. So I'm hoping that they come down pretty hard on Raja Jackson just for how he reacted so unnecessarily.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. I looked at this and very conflicted in that I'm thinking, if you are a UFC fighter, MMA fighter, and you sign up for that, right? You sign up to punch people in the face, get punched in the face, and there's a referee that breaks it up. So I think there was such a mismatch here of, trying to treat this guy like he was a professional wrestler when he's an MMA fighter. And it really got out of control. I agree with you. Raja Jackson crossed the line, knocking out a guy that was already knocked out. I get that. Ultimately, I don't know, I guess, where this lies with the law. I hear the LAPD are looking into it or whatnot. But you're right that anybody else who would do this would be in a whole lot of trouble, knocking somebody's teeth out. They choke on it. The guy was in a coma or whatever it was for like 2 days. That's wild.
Yeah, and I want to distinguish too, because you're right. There's been times where during UFC pressers, fighters will get physical. Not like this. You can say, well, it's a bit different if you do that out in public. But my understanding is this was a scripted wrestling event, which is much more akin to entertainment. So I look at it more, if you just start beating somebody up on the film while you're filming a TV show, you very well could be charged. And that's how I think the legal process would view it. I'd be curious what happens here. I know some former wrestlers have actually stood up for Raja Jackson. I just go back to that video, Rich. I watch him pounding a defenseless man, and I can't justify that.
Yeah, and that's how it started for me until I saw how this guy, hit him in the side of the head with a can or a bottle or whatever it was, and the guy looked drunk to me from what I can tell through the video. It was just crazy, and all of the other guys that didn't seem drunk were like, "Bro, chill out. That's Rampage Jackson's son. What are you doing? He's just here to say hello." And I guess what I took away from the initial exchange was, did he go there? Was he getting like a little VIP tour? Was he there to watch the wrestling match? Was he always supposed to be a part of it?
That I don't know. One of the problems with the reporting on this is that it was such a low-profile event that a lot of people have struggled to obtain access to it or even speak to people in the know. So I don't know exactly where, I believe his name was Stuart Smith, what his initial role was.
Right. Yeah, nor do I. And I wish him the best. I wish him both the best, honestly, because everybody in this situation needs help. The whole thing was messed up. But I saw a video of Rampage telling his son, "You went too far." And his son telling him, "That wasn't on me. That was on the cameraman. He should have stopped filming." And I said, "Oh, boy, that sounds problematic." Anyway, Bobby, hang on right there because the music means we got to pause, but we're coming right back. And when we come back, we'll finish up with Rampage, and we'll move on to some of your other work. So, folks, we're coming right back with Bobby Burrock from Outkick.com. He's a columnist there. And me, Rich Valdez. Don't go anywhere.
The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdez keeping you company this evening. Our phone number is 833-4-VALDEZ, 833-482-5337 if you want to join us on our late-night national town hall conversation. And I want to know from you all, did Rampage Jackson's son, Raja Jackson, did he go too far? And how far is too far? And did the wrestler go too far? Stu hitting him, like, "Hey, what's up?" Because that's how it went down. I want to know your thoughts, and give me a call, 833-4-VALDEZ. Now, I want to go back to our guest, because Bobby Burke is still with us. He's a columnist at Outkick.com. And Bobby, before we left, you wanted to make an additional point. Go right ahead.
Yeah, my point is just I think the more we dig into the story, we're probably going to find out there's a lot of people at fault here, not just Raja Jackson, but I think he is, again, the most egregious defender, and I think it's going to be really hard to conclude that he wasn't in the wrong here. Yeah.
Oh, I think, that's 100% clear. He was seeing red, and he just couldn't stop. And that's the part that leads me to believe that he went there to, like, check the place out, see what's going on, meet and greet type of thing, not to, like, work. And then these guys started, the guy hit him. And I think I saw the video. He took it the wrong way. Then they squashed the beef. And it was really when the other guy who was in between them said, listen, you'll get to work it out with him later in the ring. You'll get your payback. And he was like, oh, bet. That guy started the beef.
It's just, it's like you go to a bar and people are all hyped up. They want to prove they're toughest guy. These events, there's a lot of egos and machoism at play. So I get it, right? I mean, if somebody walks up, shoves you, or gives you a hard time, you want to react. And I get that part. But again, there's levels to this, and I think he took it to a level that is just completely indefensible. I mean, that video is just horrific.
Yeah, it is. It starts off good, right? It looks like he's actually pro wrestling. And then the next thing you know, he's not pro wrestling anymore. Then he's like UFC fighting, and it's like, oh, it's getting bad. Oh, it's getting worse. Oh, it's getting really bad. It was tough to watch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you here. But if this were at a bigger event, like a WWE event, I think that the probably reaction would have been bigger. I mean, this story hasn't really broken through as much in the mainstream as it probably should. So I'm really happy that you were giving attention to it.
Yeah, thanks. I was floored by it. I love Rampage Jackson. I've only recently seen his son. They do like a lot of social media content, and I think there's like a reality show, and I've seen clips of. And I just thought it was really interesting. And then when I saw this fight, I said, oh, my gosh, what happened here? And then I saw the rest of it. I said, oh, man, this is a mess waiting to happen. Because, again, there's right and wrong, but there's also real life. And I tend to live in the real life place a lot. And you're right. It's never going to absolve Raja Jackson from going overboard there. But I've always taught my children, and I try to live by the rules myself, that don't think that there isn't somebody out there that isn't prepared to do the wrong thing, because they are. There's always somebody out there that's willing to do the wrong thing. And you kind of, you don't have to be afraid of them, but you do have to be cognizant and aware that they're there and be guided accordingly.
Yes, such a good point. I mean, especially when you go to different settings. I mean, it's one thing to stick up for yourself, but you just don't know what the other person's willing to do, right? Do they have a gun or a knife? Obviously, this wasn't that. But it's such a great point. You have to be cognizant that not everybody's going to play by the rules or even play right. And it's a concern for everyone. You just see how probably this thing that shouldn't have been that big of a deal has now come into a situation where the guy was choking on blood in his teeth.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I want to switch gears because I know you write about a lot of things. You write about pop culture as well as sports and politics. And today's big news, stuff I don't normally talk about, but the Swifties must be very, very excited to hear that Taylor Swift has now been engaged to Travis Kelce. Talk to us.
Yeah, I actually interviewed one. Her name's Ashley Moore. She used to be Brett Baer's producer at Fox News. Rich, so let me ask you this. When you were growing up, who was the biggest celebrity?
Let's see. Biggest celebrity. Oh man, this is a tough one. Well, you're thinking like Hollywood actor or like music?
Anything. The biggest
Michael Jackson.
Celebrity. Because, yeah, perfect. Because I was just going to say Taylor Swift is the biggest star since Michael Jackson, and you could say she is the most liked/famous person since Princess Diana. And I know that generally people might say, well, wait, you're talking about a princess versus a musician. But the interest in Swift is really that astronomical. We see it in the data every day. Rich, you wouldn't believe this. When this news came out today, people on the internet stopped searching and reading about anything else, including Donald Trump. Can you believe that? Even Donald Trump. He took a back seat today to Taylor Swift, and that just does not happen.
Well, you know what? I think somebody asked him about that. Listen to this. We have cut number 30. Check this out.
I would love to ask you a serious question, but I have to tell you the biggest pop culture news of the year broke while we were in this cabinet meeting. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck.
Thank you,
I think I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
So there you have it. He worked his way back into the news cycle, Bobby Burke.
He did, and just to be clear, it was just probably an hour where Donald Trump took a back. See, he is clearly back in the front row. He's still the biggest draw on the internet. But I will say, look, I don't like Taylor Swift's politics. I don't like Travis Kelce's politics, and I'm sure Donald Trump doesn't like their politics. But I do think this is a fun, harmless story. I think some people are outraged because they think it's not real or a psyop. I don't know. It seems pretty real to me. Fun story. Our readers
I've heard that too. I've heard some people saying this isn't real.
I'll say this, Rich. These two people, especially her, they're worth so much money. I really can't imagine that they're doing this for more money or publicity. I mean, I actually get the sense they want less publicity. So I don't buy that. I think this is real. Good for them. And as a sports fan, I will say this sounds like Travis Kelce's last year in the NFL, which I think is going to give the Chiefs extra motivation. And for fans of other teams, that's a very scary, scary thought.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny you mentioned about the PSYOP. I've heard of this. I heard it just earlier today. Somebody was saying, you don't really believe that, right? The whole thing's a setup. It's a PSYOP to fool you.
Rich, we talked about this because the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl for 3 straight years. The past 2, Taylor Swift has been with Travis Kelce. 2 Super Bowls ago, I was on the show and we discussed that. Because there were a lot of people saying this is a PSYOP and that she was going to come out and endorse Joe Biden after the Super Bowl and Travis Kelce was going to propose. And I said, no, I don't think any of that's going to happen. And the Chiefs did win that Super Bowl and nothing happened this past year. They obviously lost. So, yeah, you and I have been on this for about 2 years, and I don't think there's much to it.
We are behind the scenes, Bobby Burke. Now, for people who want to be behind the scenes with you and follow your column and all of your work, how do they get you online? How do they get you on social?
Yeah, you can find me at Outkick.com or on X at BurakBobby _. I still have a little dorky X username because someone took the one that was mine a long time ago. But yeah, come over to Outkick, come over to Twitter, and have fun.
Sounds good, brother. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, I don't do a ton of these stories, and I try to do more of them, honestly. I'm sure I piss off a lot of people when I do stuff like this because, you know, it's just really not me, right? I can only do but so much hard news analysis because it's, number one, it's August, right? It's the end of August. We're about to hit up Labor Day weekend. And number two, I'm really a fun guy in real life. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, people always ask me, what do you do when you go out? I'll tell you what I don't do. I don't talk about politics. That's the first thing I don't do. I'm talking about everything but.
You know, it's great you bring that up. I think doing what we do, you track internet interest. And you'd be surprised when there's a major political story how much interest there is in non-political topics because people need that escape. So absolutely, that's why I've encouraged you to cover these topics more because while some people might not like it, a lot of people are going to say, hey, this guy's given us a much-needed break.
Yeah, you need a well-rounded show. It's my belief, and this is just me and my soapbox now. You need to have, your listeners need to be informed, and that's great. But they also have to be entertained, and they have to be informed about everything. You know, imagine going to work tomorrow going, you know, I was listening to Valdez last night, and we talked about crypto, and we talked about what the GDP predictions are going to be, and what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. But for whatever reason, they didn't talk about Taylor Swift and Kelce. And I don't want people to feel that way. I don't want it to feel left out, right?
Of course, I love it. And just to give your listeners a bit of a preview, tomorrow I'm going to look into the 2028 presidential betting odds, and they're going to find some of the results quite intriguing.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Bobby Burke, I always check out your columns. I appreciate it. I loved your 22 one-liners for non-football fans because that's me. I'm a non-football fan. So, folks, if you want to see that, make sure you check it out. Go to Outkick.com and look under Bobby Burke. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Bobby, I appreciate it, brother. Godspeed to you, my man.
You too, Rich. Talk soon.
Yes, sir. And amigos, your thoughts, your calls, your reactions, Taylor Swift, Rampage Jackson's son, Raja Jackson, whatever you want to talk about, we're going to talk about that. Plus, lots more to discuss on the political front, news of the day, and so much more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
After the guest leaves every night and we're doing open phones, kind of at the heartbeat of America. And you sit there in this radio studio and suddenly you hear voices. Mobile, Dallas, New York, Miami. And there's kind of a conglomeration of America all in one room.
Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
You heard the lady. Now is the time to call if you want to get in. 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ is the phone number. And let's hit the phones. Open phone across America. Now, you know, the Open Phone America segment is a long-honored tradition on this program. It was Larry King way back in 1978 that started the trend. It was Jim Bohannon, the late, great Jim Bohannon, that continued that. He held that torch for 30 years. And, of course, it's you and I that get to participate in that little bit of history tonight. Charles, Fairfax, Virginia, WMAL. You're on with me, Rich Valdez. Go right ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening. First-time caller.
Welcome.
Long-time listener. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Hey, I just, well, listen, I have a comment about the whole Raja Jackson thing.
Sure.
I think that it was, I think it was motivated by race. And the reason why I say that is because, like, when I was growing up, there used to be some songs that they used to sing, like, a fight, and a white, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And
I remember that song,
too. Yeah. So I think that it had something to do with it because, especially now with the climate, the political climate and the Trump thing and all that, I think that it had to do with his distorted vision of white people.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not going to say you're off here because I don't know, but I will say there's a few interesting things about this, and I don't know if it has to do with race or not. It might just have to do with internet clout, if you will, in that the audio of this video is incredibly clear. And the reason it's incredibly clear, like not like cell phone video where the microphone is on the phone and you're 10 feet away. Raja Jackson was wearing a microphone during a lot of these exchanges because his friend was videotaping him. For what purpose? I don't know. Could have been for his social media account, for his YouTube channel. I don't know. Maybe they use some of those clips in the reality show that he does with his dad. Maybe all of the above. But because of that, it led me to believe that the interaction might have been heightened because they thought they were on TV with Raja Jackson or vice versa. And I don't put anything past anybody, but I didn't really get a sense that this was racially motivated. Now, you think that might have been the case. Tell me, do you think it was motivated or instigated by the white guy or by the black guy?
I don't know. I can't really call it. I'll tell you this though. The white guy being a professional wrestler, they're used to doing stuff like that. It's called kayfabe, and so him, Raja being from another background, UFC background, they probably don't do that a lot. I don't really watch.
I can guarantee that.
Possibly must have been some kind of confusion there too.
Yeah. Listen, I you might be, and that's really what I think it is. I think it's the confusion. And I think it's the story is getting legs because you're right. People love a good black versus white versus black type of battle. Whether you're Al Sharpton or anybody else, people always want to have a story like, oh, did you hear that story and blah 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 blah. 100%. That part I could see the people reacting and the interest in it. But I'm not sure if the motivation was there for that. I think this was really just a perfect storm of a whole mess of bad decisions, Charles. From this guy hitting him with that can on the side of the head when he met him, like, hey, what's up? Who does that? Who really does? And again, it didn't hurt him because he didn't flinch, but it bothered him. And he was like, bro, what are you doing? And I would have been mad too. Listen, I'm not a wrestler. If you hit me upside, I'm probably going to hit you back. So, I understood that part, and he showed restraint, in my opinion. But he didn't show restraint once he had, I guess once he tasted that blood, it was on, and there was no turning it off. And that was very unfortunate. Charles, thanks for the call, brother. I encourage you to call anytime you get a chance. I appreciate hearing from you. Shout out to WMAL, our buddy Charles in Fairfax. Shout out to you, sir. And amigos, I'm going to take a pause right here. We're going to come right back. The rest of your calls, a few more thoughts. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdez keeping you company tonight. Working the late shift, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And before we move on with the calls, there's a clip of audio I have to play before the end of the hour. And it's of a woman named Insha Rahman. She is speaking at the Democrat National Committee, and she says, listen, carjackings and migrant crime don't matter to that many Americans. That's crazy. Listen to this.
We're at a moment of incredible opportunity for Democrats to take the upper hand on this issue. Don't be afraid of the crime debate. Lean all the way in. Call out what Trump is doing and say, the reason crime is going down, our communities are becoming safer, is because of us. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
Things that don't actually matter to that many Americans. Carjackings? Carjackings don't matter to that many Americans. Now, if you think that I am taking the position that I disagree with her because I think many Americans care about carjackings, you're wrong. I am incredulous right now because she is purely political. She doesn't care about anything. And she's letting everybody else know, look, nobody cares about crime. Come on, unless you're the one getting killed, nobody cares. What we really care about here is spin. Right? And that's what she talks about. She's talking about spinning this, putting it on them. A problem they've created through cashless bail, right? Like cashless Cuomo. Anybody in New York, don't you dare vote for Cuomo. Mr. Cashless Andy Cuomo, who signed this thing into law that's destroyed the city. Whatever's left, the final nails will be put in the coffin by Mr. Mamdani, should he win, God forbid. There's only one way to go with this, and it's Curtis Sliwa. It's really that simple. Whether you like him or you don't like him. It's just like Trump this time around. This time around, the first time around, Trump, there was 14 other competitors, 15 other competitors. This time around, there was no choice but Trump. He was it, the only game in town. You had to go with Trump. If you loved America, if you were breathing, you had to go with Trump. And I think most Americans realize that. And we're in the same boat in New York City. Curtis Sliwa for the win. Don't go anywhere, amigos. I'm coming right back. If in some markets, in others, this might be the end. So to you, I say, hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night. God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Tuesday night edition of our program. We're live and national with another hour for you. It's 7 minutes past the top of the hour, and the phone number, if you want to join us, it's 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ, and Democrats are hemorrhaging voters. Now, for the first time in, I think, in my entire political existence, I got into politics around 2004, so the last 2 decades. Let me tell you, I don't think there has ever been a time where we've had more Republicans than Democrats. But that is the case right now. And this, to me, this is astonishing, right? Anybody who wants to come at Trump, here's the only receipt you need to be concerned with. Check this out.
I do want to ask about a New York Times investigation showing that Democrats are losing registered voters in all 30 states that track party registration. We're putting on the screen the data. It shows altogether Democrats have lost 2.1 million voters. Republicans have gained 2.4 million. That's a deficit that you have of 4.5 million voters. Why are voters turning away from your party? What is the problem?
Most of that activity, as I understand it, has occurred in Florida and Texas. Certainly it is the case that nationally we're going to have to invest more in these 2 red states. At the end of the day, it's also going to be important for us to continue to make clear to the American people what we stand for as Democrats. And the more we can lean into what we stand for as a party, the better off we'll be moving forward.
That is Hakeem Jeffries, and I'm going to say, liar, liar, pants on fire, embustero. No way. That's not true at all. Now, listen, he says it's all in Florida and Texas, as if it were, that would be any better. No, that makes it even worse, sir. Why? Because these were already red states. So you're saying the red states are getting redder? You'd love people to believe that. That's not true. Why? How do I know? Because Trump won the popular vote, sir. And Trump is the first Republican to win the popular vote in, I don't know, something like 20 years. So how do you pull that off if you're only doing it in 2 states? You don't. Why? Because you're a fake, phony fraud, Hakeem. You're full of it. You're doing a bad job. You're doing a bad job in the House. You're not pulling it off. You're no Nancy Pelosi, that's for sure. And not that I'm, giving kudos to Nancy Pelosi. I'm just saying, she ruled with an iron fist. It's like you rule with a limp wrist, sadly. Anyway, this whole thing of 2.1 Democrats jumping ship and Republicans are up 2.5. This is great. Why? It's not great because I want to say, oh my gosh, look at the red team winning. No. This is great because it's so clear. The second part of what he said, Democrats have to stand for what they believe in, right? That's what he said. He said something like that. We've got to be sure about what our party stands for, what our party message is. People right now are beside themselves. Democrats, the people that are like, hey, look, I'm a liberal. I work in a union, and I've been a Democrat my whole life. And when they hear the Democrats talk, they're like, bro, you're so out of touch with me. You're talking about we want more crime. I don't want more crime. You're talking about we want to tax everybody and their mama. We don't want more taxes. That's the mistake that the Democrats keep making is they think that everybody's in love with transgenderism. They're not. You heard the clip yesterday from Snoop Dogg. If we have it, let me know if we have it. I might want to play it again. Because Snoop Dogg, again, a liberal, a rabid Trump hater. But listen, Uncle Snoop, Grandpa Snoop does not want to go to the movies with his grandson and have to explain why there's 2 women having a child. Listen to this.
That goes back to the presentation I spoke to you earlier. What you see is what you see. They putting it everywhere.
Yeah.
I took my grandson to see what was the movie with Buzz Light?
Toy Story?
Not that one, but
the new Buzz. The Lightyear. I think it's
yeah,
called
with
Lightyear.
Kiki Palmer's in that movie.
Okay.
She plays like the daughter. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, man, she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, shit. I didn't come in for this shit. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. They just said she had a baby. They both women's. How did she have a baby? Shh. The movie ain't over with.
Ay, bendito. Right? Why? Obviously, Snoop was uncomfortable there. So was the little kid. You're alienating an entire family to try to accommodate the gender dysphoria, the mental ailment that one person is dealing with. This is the easiest way to lose your party, and you're doing it. You just lost millions of voters, and you lost an election where you were the incumbent. How about that? You were in the White House and lost it. Okay, listen, it happens. I've seen it happen. All I'm saying is I'm not rooting for the Democrats, and neither are the Democrats. Because if somebody were to say, who is the most famous Democrat today, you know the answer is going to be AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Elizabeth Warren, any one of these crazies that are out there. The most radical amongst us. They don't represent most people. They don't represent most Democrats. And this is why you're seeing Snoop tell the story he told. This is why you got this woman who was speaking at the Democrat National Committee. And she says that carjackings and migrant crime aren't actually things that most Americans think are serious. They don't matter to most Americans. This is crazy talk to me. Her name is Insha Rahman. She is at the Democrat National Convention Committee, and listen to what she had to say.
We're at a moment of incredible opportunity for Democrats to take the upper hand on this issue. Don't be afraid of the crime debate. Lean all the way in. Call out what Trump is doing and say, the reason crime is going down, our communities are becoming safer, is because of us. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
So there you have it. This, to me, is, again, this is why the Democrats are losing. Because they have Insha Rahman there talking about the opportunity to try and put it on Republicans. What are you going to put on Republicans? You're going to put crime on the people that suggest that we should all walk around with guns? The people that you say are racist and want to lock everybody up? Obviously, if they were in charge and locking everybody up, there'd be a whole lot less crime. So the arguments are nonsensical and they're ineffective. People aren't stupid. People want to earn a living. They want to live safely. They want to be well. That's it. Everything else is fake, phony, and fraud. And that's why when you get these radicals, and they're only a handful of radicals, I mean, they're hoping they grow. And they go and they take over the DNC. This is the result. 2 million people jump ship. Well, guess what? Now you got some other radicals that got in charge of the marketing strategy at Cracker Barrel. What happened there? They said, let's rebrand this company. Let's change the sign. Everybody who has ever been there, not me, starts freaking out about it. Why? Because they liked it the way it was. They liked it the way it was. It's that simple. So we're going to talk about brands and franchises and this Cracker Barrel fiasco because I grew up with saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yet this is exactly what the Democrats try to do. And it's almost like, if it ain't broke, please break it. Outrageous. Anyway, amigos, we're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations, somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Cracker Barrel restaurant chains say that they could have done a better job with a rebrand that a lot of people have strongly criticized. So here's what happened. Last week, the company introduced a new logo without a familiar image of a man known as Uncle Herschel sitting next to a barrel. The updated logo shows only the words Cracker Barrel. Critics say, Gail, I need you to keep it together. Critics say that that robs the restaurants of their vintage charm, and some even threaten a boycott. In the past, the company was accused of racial discrimination, and it settled a government lawsuit in 2004. Last year, Cracker Barrel's CEO said the company needed to freshen things up after years of slow growth. Now, despite the new logo, the company says its locations will still retain their trademark old-fashioned real.
Now, listen. I understand this. I agree that they messed this thing up. President Trump weighing in as well, saying they should go back to the old logo, giving them some free advice, admitting that they should admit that they made a mistake and move on. I don't know if they're going to take his advice or not, but I'm curious to know what goes into this and who makes these decisions at the top to destroy a brand. Right? They did it with, I've never, ever bought, and not in protest, I just literally never bought one after they took Aunt Jemima off of the syrup bottle. And they replaced her with a non-Aunt Jemima looking woman. And there was a change on the name, and it was just a whole thing that I thought was a very bad, it didn't even taste the same to me anymore. And I'm sure it was the same formula, but it just left, figuratively speaking, a bad taste in my mouth. So I'm wondering if people are just going to abandon this brand because, the brand loyalty, they feel betrayed in that area. I want to get to the bottom of this with somebody who knows what's going on, knows a thing or two about brands. Nick Neonakis is the founder of Franchise Consulting Company, and the Franchise Consulting Company is the largest franchisor and franchisee marketing platform in the world. Nick Neonakis, welcome, sir.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate being on.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for making the time. And I want to get to the bottom of this because, at least, from your perspective, I'm a radio guy and I talk about everything, but, this is what you do for a living. So talk to me about, A, do you think there was wisdom in this rebrand? And B, who is the high and mighty that gets to make these decisions?
So I think, if you put this in the context of their market cap, okay? In 2021, their stock price was $174 a share. It got down as low as 50 over the last couple of days. But it's been a pretty long and slow drop down, okay? So somebody in the executive office, undoubtedly getting compensated by, get that stock price up, is saying we need to change something. It's not working. I mean, they've been having increasing revenue. Their net income has been going down, which is really a function of, the increase in food prices and labor and so on. So somebody's looking at the stock price and saying, let's get this thing up. What do we need to do? We need to attract more people. How do we do that? Let's freshen up the place. So that's what they did. Who made the decision? It was going to be the CEO in conjunction with the board. And there were a number of board members who pushed back against this, but they pushed it through. Was it a good rebrand? I think the interior, you've been in a Cracker Barrel. I've been in a Cracker Barrel.
I've never been to a Cracker Barrel in my life, sir.
No? Oh, my gosh.
Nope.
Okay. Well, you're in for a hash brown souffle and dumpling treat when you go check it out. It was kind of dark. It kind of felt like a 1970s, early 80s kind of vibe. Nice. It was Americana. So they brightened up the inside. That I think looks okay. The logo sucks. Don't mess with the logo. And they did. I think that's where a lot of the angst is coming from. But what's interesting, I pulled up their stock here. After hours, they're up 7%. So something is happening. Either they're going to change, back to the old logo, or people are saying, hey, they got unfairly treated. It got pushed down too low. There's some value here because they did, $3.5 billion worth of sales. They've got 650 plus locations around the country. It's not just going to go away. Long-winded answer, but a very perceptive question that you had.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of what a lot of people are wondering about is how is this thing going to bounce back and what will be the future of it. I know for me, Target was a very similar thing. And again, for me, I remember it just seemed off. I was with my kids. It didn't make me super comfortable. And I thought, you know what? Maybe not the best place for me to shop. So I bailed on that. And soon after, I think a lot of people did as well. And I'm just wondering, does this, does it smack some of the, their base in the face?
It's an interesting point. I'm not sure if it does or if this is getting caught up in a news cycle. They got Uncle Herschel off of the logo. Big mistake. But they're selling the same food that they sold before. So it's not like all of a sudden this is our new spokesman for Bud Light or here's new Coke. It's different than the old Coke and it looks different and it tastes different. So they didn't materially change what's inside the box. They just changed what the box looks like a bit. I remember McDonald's remember all the McDonald's used to be red and gold, the mansard roofs, all that. And then they shifted over to a more updated sort of browns and taupes and earth tones to freshen the place up. And now you rarely see the red, sloped roof and so on at a McDonald's. I think they were trying to do the same thing. Now, they definitely botched a couple of pieces, but I don't think that it's a wholesale, our servers are going to be wearing tutus and, dancing and singing. I don't see that happening here.
All right. Well, I have a clip I'm going to play for you. I can't play it yet because we're almost out of time in this segment. When we come back, I want you to hear what some of the customers are saying about it. And they don't seem happy. And I'm sure you're right. You do this daily. I don't. But I know that because it makes sense what you're saying, right? It's the same food. It's the same experience for the most part, just a new logo. And to me, I think going back to the old logo would probably fix a lot of these problems. New logo, brighter interior, sounds like a win. I guess we'll find out with stock price and how long it takes to go back up, if it goes back up to its original market cap. But stick with me. We're going to come right back and continue this discussion. Folks, we're on with Nick Neonakis. He is the founder of the Franchise Consulting Company, and that's thefranchiseconsultingcompany.com. I'm coming back with him and, of course, me, Rich Valdez. Don't go anywhere.
Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
I'm old school. I like the old original menu that they had better.
It ain't broke. So why are they trying to change anything?
I'm country all the way. I think they need to keep it country from now on.
They're not doing themselves any favors. With everything that has gone woke, how many have made it?
President Trump even joined the conversation, posting on Truth Social, quote, Cracker Barrel should go back to the old logo, admit a mistake based on customer response, the ultimate poll, and manage the company better than ever before. Well, despite the backlash, Cracker Barrel CEO Julie Fells-Massino is sticking with her plans for now, including a new company logo that's been called bland and generic, and a store refresh that includes brighter paints, less knickknacks, and a more streamlined look.
That's a report from Fox. Let me see. Fox, what is that? Fox 13 in Utah. So shout out to them. And I want to come back to our guest, Nick Neonakis. He is the founder of the Franchise Consulting Company, largest franchisor and franchisee marketing platform in the world. And Nick, we were talking about this before. I'm encouraged by your thoughts that this is a bump in the road, a blip in the radar, and that maybe these customers will eventually find their way back. That's your position. And mine was I tend to take things personally. You change things, I'll find another place to go. I guess I'm in the minority here.
Well, I don't know, because looking at the after-hours news here, Cracker Barrel scraps new logo after outrage from customers and President Trump, which is why their stock price is moving up.
Oh, good. So they caved. Look at that. Finally, a little breaking news for everybody out there. Good. They saved themselves and they made their customers happy. Ultimately, I agree with. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rich, I think you nailed it when you said freshen up the place, but leave the logo, which I completely agree with. The brand has such power. You can't just change a logo. That's what I was saying. They messed up with the logo, but clean up the place. Keep the same food. Make it better. That's what people go.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
They heard you. Yeah.
Yeah, and they listened to Trump. I'll tell you this, Nick. I used to run a barbershop, and my shop, people liked it, whatever. And I sold the place. And I told the guy, look, I'm not selling you the name. If you want the name, you're going to have to pay a lot more. But he was like, no, I want to change the name anyway. I said, all right, cool. I said, but I will give you, because I knew that the minute that he said it's not this place, that many customers would leave because it was kind of personality driven. People like their barber because they like their barber. Some people do go to Supercuts, but this wasn't that kind of shop. This was a little local barber shop that people went to because they knew their barber. And long story short, I told him, I'll let you use the name for, 45 days, 60 days, something like that, so that, you can slowly blend and make something else. But he decided to go cold turkey right away, changed the sign under new administration, and it failed very, very quickly. and I've always seen this happen so many times. People are so proud to say that they're under new management, realizing that you're shooting yourself in the foot by destroying a brand that's already established.
Absolutely. I mean, think of the power of brands. If I say this jingle, you'll know exactly what it is. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. And so do all your listeners. Mickey D's, right? When you think of Coke, you think of Nike, you think of the swoosh. I mean, these things are burned into our memory. And, Trump nailed it. He said these guys are going to get $1 billion worth of free publicity if they play their cards right. Change it back to the way it was. Make it a winner again. And that's what they did. And look at all the positive press they've had. You've never been into a Cracker Barrel, but I bet you're going to go check one out the next time you drive by one. Yeah.
Probably. And the fact that I'm talking about Cracker Barrel for half an hour is a big deal to me. I never thought I'd be talking about Cracker Barrel on the radio. So I appreciate you, bringing us up to speed on everything. Nick, everybody who wants to check out your business, they go to the franchiseconsultingcompany.com. Is there somewhere they should go on social media?
Yeah, I'm going to make your listeners a special offer because I love what you do, man. I mean, you really do an amazing job. And, I wrote the #1 bestseller in the United States on franchising. It's the highest reviewed book on Amazon called The Franchise MBA. You can buy it for about $17 or the cost of a meal at Cracker Barrel. I want to give one out for free to all of your listeners. So if you text the word franchise to this text number, 26786. That's 26786, the word franchise. We'll reach out to you. My team will send you a free copy of the Franchise MBA. So 26786, text franchise. We'll be happy to send you a book. And it talks about the power of brand. It talks about business and ownership and, if you're interested in owning a business. And then we're going to be doing, we produce 12 major trade shows every year. We'll be in the D.C. area at the Dulles Expo Center September 20th and the 21st just mention Rich, and you're in for free. Tickets are $29 at the door, or go to franexpousa.com, or just say I listened to Rich, and we'll let you in for free. There'll be hundreds of companies exhibiting there.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that. And amigos, take advantage of the great offer. I think that's a fantastic thing. Honestly, if I were in D.C. those days, I would definitely go, because I've always loved the idea of franchise. It's like you get to buy into a business that's already working, and they give you the formula. I mean, that's a great thing. Having built my own business, it's pretty cool to be able to do that. Nick, I want to thank you for being here. I appreciate your expertise. We'll definitely have you back on very soon. Thank you, sir.
You bet, Rich. Thank you.
You bet. Amigos, we continue with your calls, your thoughts, your opinions, and so much more. We've been talking about a number of things this evening, not the least of which has been how the Democrats are hemorrhaging voters the way Cracker Barrel was hemorrhaging their stock price. Thankfully, they've changed course, and things are doing better for them. Will the Democrats get the same message? I don't know. But I want to go to your calls, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. Let's go to Danny calling us from Washington, D.C., WMAL. Danny, go right ahead.
Hey, Rich, good evening. A couple things. Imsa Rockman, Democrat National Committee. Yeah. I thought for a second, when I got in my car and turned on the radio, you were on. That sounded a whole lot like AOC. But in any event, obviously another one of the useful idiots for the Democrat Party.
For sure.
And there's a translation there, because folks that are like, very learned men that wax philosophically over leather-bound Poe classics would read between the lines, and the useful idiot for the Democrat Party becomes the useless idiot for everybody else. And with the Cracker Barrel thing, didn't anybody pay attention to when Coke redid their formula? I mean, this was, 30-some years ago? And they thought, you know what, let's change it. Are you mad?
Yeah, it's amazing to me when people start messing around with a good thing, Danny. It's a bad idea, but I feel like people try to make a mark, usually people in leadership, and they're like, you know what, we're going to try and do it this way. And, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I can tell you this. I did radio in New York City. I was very aggressive. I wasn't always this chill. And I never did guests. It was almost like taboo. Don't do guests, do monologues, straight through, do calls and your thoughts. And it was almost like a sign of weakness. If you did guests, it was because you weren't doing enough talking. That's how Levin taught me. That's how Limbaugh taught him. And I can tell you that it's a whole different skill set doing these things, right? My brand changed a little bit. And I use beautiful, beautiful music, right? We got some excellent bumper music here, but the bumper music on my show from New York when I was local was, hip hop, and it was really rough, and it was very edgy and very youthful. Here we went with a classic sound to really pay homage to those who came before us, Jim Bohannon, Larry King, Long John Nebel on the Mutual Network. And I say that to say is when you have an existing brand, and in my case, an existing listener base, you want to hold on to them and grow it, which we have by the grace of God, adding 25 affiliates last year, 25 new affiliates this year, 50 affiliates in the last 2 years. But you don't want to ruin it. And you don't want to come in here and go, all right, new sheriff in town, I'm changing everything around, and if they don't like it, too bad. No, it doesn't really work that way. You got to work with what you got. To improve, and I think you bring up a good point. And I love that the useful idiot becomes everybody else's useless idiot. That was terrific. Danny in Washington, D.C., shout out to you and WMAL. And amigos, we're coming right back with calls from Alabama, Ohio, Florida, and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
Rich, I'm honored, man, to be able to have a voice on your platform. There's probably 140,000 federal inmates that listen to you at night.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I watched a man from Maryland who said to me, sir, you're the greatest president. You're doing an unbelievable job. What a great job. Governor Moore, has anyone heard of him? Mm-hmm. He's another hopeful for president. I don't think so. But I met him, and I didn't realize it was on camera. Did you see they caught him on camera? I was at a game, I don't know, like the Army-Navy game or something. And I met him in a hallway. And as usual, you do your job very well. One of these great cameramen had it on tape. But I met this gentleman. I never met him before. Sir, you're doing a great job. You're doing an unbelievable job. Thank you very much. But then he goes on television and says, oh, Trump is a dictator. He's a dictator. And a lot of people have heard. So the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime. And you would think that Illinois would have such a problem with crime, such a bad governor. He should be calling me, and he should be saying, could you send over the troops, please? It's out of control.
That's El Trompito getting praise from Democrat governors privately and criticism publicly. And I want to get your thoughts, opinions, reactions to all of this and so much more. Let's go to Canton, Ohio, WNIR, and check in with Debbie. Debbie, how are you? Welcome.
Oh, hey. Hi, Rich. I'm doing good. Thank you. We do have one Cracker Barrel down here in our area, and my mom loves to go there and shop. So I just want to say it is a brand. It's in itself, and I don't want it to change because what they have there is very important to people. Beyond that, I wanted to talk about leadership skills. Sure. I worked for 35 years in the mental health field. I had many different leaders, because that changed over the years. And never once did I have a leader come in there and say, oh, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. Oh, you're fucking up. Never once. They valued what we tried to do as a, you know what I mean? They took it as we were combining together. Okay, things are changing. Let's work together. Let's take what you know and let's work together. And that's where I feel Mr. Trump is really missing the boat here, because if he really wants to do things, to change things, he wouldn't insult all the people that's been trying so hard to do the same things he wants to do. He's insulting,
who are you talking about? Like his
insults
insults to the Democrats?
What do you mean, sir?
No, I'm saying, do you mean like the way he's insulting the Democrats for being soft on crime? Is that what you're referring to?
Pretty much. I mean, come on, let's be honest. He's just insulting them instead of saying, hey, I want to help you guys. You've been working hard. That's what every leader I ever had come in and say. We know we're working for the same thing. We want the same thing. Let's work together.
Well, and here's the thing, Debbie. I think in the private sector, oftentimes we do want the same thing. However, when it comes to the public sector and you're dealing with politicians, I feel sometimes, sadly, they don't want the same thing, right? Because people that want the same thing want peace. They want safety. They want a good community. And I got to tell you, there are certain people out there, like this guy running for mayor in New York City, this guy Mamdani. This guy Mamdani would have you live in a war zone. The types of bills and laws that he's in favor of and what he proposes would be detrimental for the city. It would be horrible for public safety. It would make things less safe for people like you and me. Yet he does this because it caters to his political base, because they want this type of everybody does what they want to do. Let's legalize prostitution. They did it already, and guess what? Now people are having sex in the middle of the day, in the middle of the street, not even trying to hide about it. So these have drastic consequences. And I agree with you. If you're all going in the same direction, you all love the country, and you all want to do the right thing, you can have disagreements along the way. But unfortunately, I think there's just so many people out there that really don't want the same thing. They don't want to see America become great again. They don't want to see America prosper. They don't like the country. They want to see the country go down so they can rebuild it the way they'd like to rebuild it, with all sorts of crazy. And I think most people just don't agree with the crazy. Debbie, thank you for your very thoughtful call. I appreciate it. Shout out to WNIR, Canton, Ohio, in the building. And more calls from Illinois, Alabama, Florida. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Voted best head of hair in live late night radio 6 years in a row. It's Rich Valdez.
Phones we go. Let's check in with our friend David in Geneva, Alabama, WDBT. David, go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rick Valdez with an S.
Thank you.
I've had an interesting theory. A lot of military reservations, especially Army, had their names changed last year from Fort Rucker to Fort Novosel. I know Mike Novosel. I lived and worked at Fort Rucker for a long time, and Fort Hood, Texas. Now they've changed them back, which they should have been, but everybody apparently has forgotten one important thing about the end of the Civil War. All of the Confederate soldiers were readmitted as American soldiers, not Confederate soldiers. They were readmitted as U.S. soldiers. They were forgiven.
Yeah, actually, they were pardoned, too. I remember reading that years ago. You're right. Listen, I think there's a piece of history that we don't ever want to lose sight of. And it's this one. And we don't want to sanitize things. It's funny, we were talking about that during the break, Mr. Good and I, about Pocahontas and how it wasn't always a beautiful story, right? There was a dark part to that story. And so much of our history occasionally gets sanitized. And it's not good. And the reason it's not good is because you need it for nuance. People need to know the truth about everything. They need to be able to form opinions. And those opinions are important because it's a part of history. Doesn't mean it's who you are today, but it means it's part of the story. And the story is very important. So, David, thank you for your point. I really appreciate it. I want to continue here. Let's go to Lester, Daytona Beach, Florida. Very quickly, go right ahead. WTTB.
Okay, thank you, Rich. I'll try and be as quick as I can. This is just my personal thought, and it's about the fight you mentioned earlier between the two young men. Okay, the difference between young men today and 100 years ago, which would be 1925, the difference between those men and today is that young men, regardless of where they're from, their race, their nationality, their religion, their sexual proclivities, whatever, young men today are living in a sardine can. The world living space has not increased.
You're saying we're overpopulated, too many people, and these guys they're losing it because they're in a confined space. I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to that. I know that I feel like that when I'm on the road. That's probably why I get road rage occasionally. So you might be onto something, Lester. I want to thank you for your call, brother. Always appreciate your insight. WTTB in the building. We got more calls coming up from Ormond's Beach, Florida, and more. Don't go anywhere. I'm Bess.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late night talk program featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to another hour of the program, 7 minutes past the top of the hour, live and national. Happy to be with you yet again. It's a blessing to be here, and if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Our phone number is 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ, and tonight's been an interesting night. We've been filled with a lot of events, a lot of goings on, entertainment gone wild. Rampage Jackson's son, Raja Jackson, losing it in a professional wrestling environment. That crash out was all over the social media. Then you've got the crack up over at Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel changing course, saying, you know what, we're going to take El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, advice, and we're going to keep the original logo. So they spruced the place up. They're keeping the menu, and they're keeping the old logo of a white guy next to a barrel. And interestingly, they call the place Cracker Barrel. I think that works, right? I mean, it just seems like it's a solid concept. Why fix it if it isn't broken? And, of course, now I want to talk about some true crime this evening as well, because there's, I promised I would talk about this on Friday, the Ghislaine Maxwell interview with the Deputy Attorney General. And this is obviously a good thing, for El Trompito, where she said lots of very positive things. But I want to get some analysis on it, so we're going to do that shortly. But there's still plenty of things going on. And one of the things going on that I find interesting is you've got Democrats out there making all sorts of crazy statements. Earlier I played a clip of a woman that was at the Democrat National Convention at their committee meeting. And at the DNC, she says that most Americans don't care. It doesn't matter to most Americans, or that many Americans, if there is migrant crime or if there is a carjacking. I mean, who says these things? Now, I've played this clip twice already. I'm going to play it a third time just for context so you know exactly what's going on here. But this is Miss Rahman, Rahman. And I think she's off her rocker. Check this out.
At a moment of incredible opportunity for Democrats to take the upper hand on this issue. Don't be afraid of the crime debate. Lean all the way in. Call out what Trump is doing and say, the reason crime is going down, our communities are becoming safer, is because of us. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
Things that don't matter to that many Americans. Wild. Now, another thing is, we're literally living in the same world as this other woman, right? This woman, let me see if I get her name here. She is Congresswoman Jennifer McClellan. She's a Democrat from Virginia. She's on the conference call yesterday, and she goes on to say what I think what everybody knows is not accurate. And it's okay to take a dissenting opinion, sure. But we're watching people get arrested, right? People that they're like, no, this guy was a Maryland dad. And then we find out there's actually child smuggling charges against him. Oh, okay. Oh, he's actually part of a long history of documented cases where he was considered by the police in these investigations to be a member of MS-13. So involved in this MS-13 gang that he said he could not go to a jail in El Salvador because they would kill him. I wonder why they'd kill him if he wasn't in a gang. So you look at all of those things, and you've got this woman, Congresswoman McClellan, saying that coming into the country illegally isn't a crime. Listen to this, number 17.
What ICE is doing is not making us safe. The Trump administration is treating immigrants, generally, undocumented immigrants specifically, as criminals. But I remind people, being an undocumented immigrant is not a crime.
Well, Congresswoman McClellan, look, I understand it's an unlawful act, right? Unlawful entry into the country. She's talking about it's not a criminal proceeding, and that's why people don't get punished criminally for this, right? They get dealt with in immigration court, and they get deported. Understood. She's making a distinction that to many people is without a difference. Now, there are people out there that are a little bit mean-spirited, and they think that, you should treat illegal immigrants the way you would treat a murderer. Really, I've met these people. That's not the case with most people. And what Representative McClellan here is saying is that it's not a crime. This is semantics. It will land you in jail and it will get you kicked out of the country. Whatever you want to call that activity, it's that. So she's out here saying that it's not a thing. The other woman, Miss Rahman, she's saying that carjackings don't matter to most Americans. And this is what the Democrat Party is today. They're totally beside themselves with just the crazy that's going on. I mean, really, they're really, in my opinion, really just losing it. I got one more for you here. This is number 15. This is Congresswoman Veronica Escobar from Texas. She says that we're losing everything. We could lose our democracy. What democracy are we losing? What constitutional republic are we losing because of Trump? She's going to explain. Listen to her interview with John Berman. Check this out.
The chair of your party just said we can't be the only party that plays by the rules anymore. What did you hear in that?
I agree. What we have seen coming from the Republican Party is nothing but bending the knee to Donald Trump as he violates the Constitution, violates the law. I have heard my constituents tell me over and over again that we need to fight back harder, and I agree. And we are doing this on all fronts, the political front, the congressional front, but this is a really tough moment in American history. We could lose everything. We could lose our democracy, our constitutional republic, all because of one man. I will tell you, we also, constituents in red districts need to put pressure on their Congress people as well. Why are Republicans bending the knee? All we need is 3 people in the House, 3 Republicans in the House, 3 Republicans in the Senate, so we can uphold the law and focus on helping the American public. Donald Trump is only about helping himself. We need Republicans to work with us as well.
I'm done with her. Listen, this woman is out of touch. Why? What kind of dictator that is threatening democracy, threatening the constitutional republic? Why wouldn't we start with you, Miss Escobar? Right, I'll tell you right now, if you elect me as your dictator and you start coming at me sideways with all this nonsense, just because you're so annoying, I would have you locked up. I'd send ICE to you. Is that a racial slur? No. You're saying he's a dictator. He can do what he wants, right? Because that's how they do it in Cuba. That's how they do it in Venezuela. That's how they do it in countries where they don't like what you say, and they send the goon squad to shut you up. And they will lock you up. You ever heard of the term political prisoner? That's what that means. So I find it incredibly rich for someone, especially a Hispanic person, to be honest with you, to sit here and try and call Trump a dictator when many of us have family members that some way, somehow knew a dictator, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. We may not have had a dictator in Puerto Rico, but we've seen it in our neighboring places. We've seen it in Cuba. We've seen Batista in the Dominican Republic, Trujillo. I mean, come on. This isn't ancient history. This is relative modern day history in the last couple of 100 years. So I just got to say, this stuff it's not working on me for sure. And I don't think it's working on anybody. Anyway, that's why Democrats are losing millions and millions. Literally 2.1 million voters have jumped ship from the Democrat Party. Now, they keep attacking Trump. They're attacking him for democracy. Then you've got the rest of them saying, oh, Trump is guilty of Epstein Island. He's this, he's that, he's whatever. Yet the only person to ever commit crimes with Jeffrey Epstein, she's on the record saying, nope, Trump's a solid dude, never did anything. He's in the clear. I played those clips for you last week. But I want to get some analysis on it from somebody who knows exactly what's going on with this. An actual licensed forensic psychologist. He's a true crime writer as well. He's a doctor of criminology. He analyzes celebrities in a lot of these very popular court cases. And Dr. John Brady's coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Look at Rich Valdez. He's now a radio host, and he's a great radio host.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
We've all kind of been part of the Epstein story over the past several years, but you were there at the time. Okay. What was it like at the time? I mean, was he a creepy guy when it came to that sort of thing? Was he protective of how he looked publicly, image-wise? Like, at the time, what was it like?
I think if he had been creepy, like as you would define and you would expect someone who was living that lifestyle to be creepy, I don't think the women would have been there. I don't think that they thought of him as creepy. And if they did, I never saw them behave like he was being weird. Was it a lot? Yes, it was, for sure. I found it overwhelming, and I couldn't understand why it was interesting, because to me, it's not interesting. But he, as he defined it, he found it invigorating. He liked being with younger people. And now I'm just younger people. I'm just saying because they gave him ideas and they were up to date on music and
yeah, but that's different than like a masseuse coming every day.
I'm just telling you what he was saying to me. I mean, to me, I just found it a drag.
That, of course, is Ghislaine Maxwell in a recorded interview with the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Todd Blanche. And I want to get into a little bit of analysis on her from the forensic psychology perspective from Dr. John Brady. He's written the book that's out now, by the way, or actually coming out this fall in October, Breakdown, a criminal analysis of Lee Harvey Oswald and Saran, along with O.J. Simpson, the Hillside Strangler, Ted Krasinski, Luigi Mangione, and others. And right now, one of those others is going to be Ghislaine Maxwell, who's made very complimentary statements. I would say they were complimentary, or at least, affirmative statements about President Trump. And after the media was trying to malign him, saying he was somehow involved in this. So I want to get to the genesis of it and the motivation behind it, according to Dr. John Brady. Let's bring him in. Dr. John Brady, welcome, sir.
Yeah, Rich, thanks a lot for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for staying up late and helping us break this down. So you just heard this clip of Maxwell, and I would imagine, like anybody who's incarcerated, that she's angling for a deal one way or another. She wants to limit her time in jail and potentially, be free to go do more crimes or just to be free, period. When you hear audio like this where she's saying Epstein wasn't very creepy, do you think that this is her honest assessment, or is this her trying to tell people what she thinks they need to hear?
Yeah, look at Rich. I mean, I think when you look at Ghislaine Maxwell, you really have to tie her history of behavior to Epstein's. I mean, these are two peas in a pod. They're codependents in the sex trafficking situation that they were both involved in for 20, 25 years. So it's very difficult to separate the two people. The interesting fact that I look at is how did Ghislaine Maxwell, a very rich, super intelligent lady, she went to Oxford, she had a double major at Oxford, highly literate, worked for her father. So as a daughter, I mean, she was his favorite of 9 children, and he really loved her. She loved him. When he died under strange circumstances in the Canary Islands off from his boat that was named the Ghislaine, by the way. When he died in 1991, it left an empty spot in her life because she was so attached to her father. She looked for a surrogate person, perhaps in a sugar daddy, modern description, as a sugar daddy kind of figure. And she goes to New York and she connects with Jeffrey Epstein, who has his own kind of psychological issues that led to them combining together to engage in these almost international sex trafficking crimes.
Now, Doc, talk to me about, you say, his own psychological issues. I'm curious to know what those are, because I think he is a weirdo. When I've seen some of the artwork that was on the walls in his house, it just seemed very odd to me, not something I have or anybody I know has, like that picture of President Clinton wearing a dress. I think he's wearing the Lewinsky dress. I thought that was so odd. So if we could pick up from there when we return, I just want to remind everybody about your book and who we're talking to. Amigos, we're on with Dr. John Brady. He's got a PhD and a doctorate in criminology. He's a licensed forensic psychologist. He writes about true crime, and he analyzes all these celebrity criminal cases. And he's the author of a new book that's coming out this October called Breakdown, a criminal analysis of Lee Harvey Oswald, Saran, along with O.J. Simpson, the Hillside Strangler, Ted Kaczynski, Luigi Mangione, and others. And that book, of course, available on Amazon.com as soon as you can. I'd recommend doing a pre-order on that. And of course, I want to remind everybody, if you miss any portion of the interviews we're doing, like the one we're doing right now with Dr. John Brady, make sure you go to the website, richvaldez.com, because you'll be able to get any of the interviews that you may have missed or something you want to share with somebody. Text them the link, and voila, they're listening to the show. So thank you for that, and thank you for all of the 5-star reviews. Anyway, we're coming right back with Dr. John Brady, who's going to head shrink Jeffrey Epstein. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks for what you do. You have so many people. You ask the questions that if the viewer had a microphone, they would ask that question, and you seem to always ask it right at the right time. So God bless you, my friend.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
Did you ever observe, you said that have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yes.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes. That's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's, if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody in the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
When's the last time you think you saw in person President Trump?
It's been a long time. Probably not. Sometime in the beginning, mid 2000s maybe, and it would only have been a social setting, as far as I recall.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never, in any context.
That is Ghislaine Maxwell, again, reiterating there is no client list, and she's never seen Trump doing anything inappropriate outside of seeing him at a social event. So I want to continue down this road because Dr. John Brady is our guest. He's the author of Breakdown, a criminal analysis of Lee Harvey Oswald, Saran, O.J. Simpson, the Hillside Strangler, Ted Kaczynski, Luigi Mangione, and others. And he was making a secondary point right when we had to hit the break. Dr. John Brady, welcome back.
Oh, thanks very much, Rich.
My pleasure. And you wanted to make a point as we were continuing your analysis on Ghislaine Maxwell. Go right ahead.
So she was a kind of a wounded bird situation after her father passed away. She then needed a surrogate person who would enable her financially, emotionally, perhaps spiritually, and maybe even sexually to fulfill her particular needs. This is, as I said before, can be described kind of as a sugar daddy situation. But the intertwining of these two personalities, you can't really analyze one without the other. For example, Epstein wanted to be a man of mystery. He wanted to be Jay Gatsby. He wanted to be a James Bond type of person. He stated that, quote, I control everything. I control everyone. I collect people. I can own people, and I can damage people. So he was this kind of a control freak who operated within this context of a sexual aggressor who used Ghislaine Maxwell as the procurer of these people. The people, and there was some evidence in an article that I read, I think in the New Yorker, concerning a Rolodex that Ghislaine Maxwell had, and Jeffrey Epstein would refer to it as, this is where the women are. Now, the factual basis of that, I don't know. The term Rolodex has certainly been replaced with iPhone contacts, so that's kind of an archaic term, but there was that reference made. In terms of her own psychology, I think that she fell into the control situation that Epstein had over her and convinced her that this was the correct dynamic, was he would reward her for, as I said, monetarily, especially setting her up in an apartment in New York, letting her visit his Palm Beach house, also the island, his small island that he bought. So she became pretty much a surrogate for him as somebody who was controlled under his purview to engage in his behavior.
Got it. And ultimately, I think he's a weirdo. I understand your analysis here. She says he's not a creepy weirdo. Where do we land on this?
I think obviously based on his criminal behavior, based on the prior conviction in 2008 in Miami, he had this predilection towards being an opportunistic sex offender. There's no question about that. His behavior is as an opportunistic sex offender involves him violating the human rights of young women. Although 50% of the people that he abused were over 18. The other 50% were younger than 18. I think his own particular pathology really plays into his behavior and the behavior that he drew Ghislaine Maxwell into. I think that he was a undiagnosed depressive personality who probably was experiencing a clinical reaction based on his inability to connect with other people outside of his palaces. So he had agoraphobia, where he really couldn't operate outside of his domain. He had chefs that would prepare him dinner. As much as the media reports that he was this social guy, and the meetings with then Donald Trump before he was president in Mar-a-Lago, I think that was much overplayed. I think that his agoraphobic behavior made him withdrawn. He was alien from other people. He was a ritualistic person who had to have things his own way, including the presentation of the women. They had to dress in a certain way. Ghislaine Maxwell had to prepare them, had to put the correct sheets on the massage tables, had to have them walk in a certain way while he seduced them. So I think his agoraphobic reaction was alleviated by Ghislaine Maxwell, who was able to bring people to him rather than him going out. He was a very fastidious person, took several showers a day, perhaps cleansing himself of his own guilt, in the Lady Macbeth analogy. So he ate special food. His body was an important thing to him, where he only ate certain kinds of food, and he was oriented around this ritualistic behavior that had him withdraw from society rather than the popular image of him being this social gadabout Jay Gatsby type person.
Very interesting. Now, Doc, we're just about out of time here, but I want to make sure people have a chance to follow you online. I have your website is at johncbrady.com. Is that the best place? And how do they find you on social media?
Instagram, LinkedIn, my website, just Dr. John C. Brady, or the publisher, Trine Day, Trineday. They publish my books. Or Amazon, of course, and Barnes & Noble.
Outstanding. Well, folks, the book, again, Breakdown, a criminal analysis of Lee Harvey Oswald and Saran Saran, along with O.J. Simpson, the Hillside Strangler, Ted Kaczynski, Luigi Mangione, and others. Dr. John Brady, fascinating conversation. I want to thank you for staying up late and breaking it down for us. Godspeed to you, sir.
Oh, my pleasure, Rich. Thank you so much.
You bet. Talk to you soon. And amigos, your thoughts, your calls, your reactions. Open Phone America starts right now.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
A lot of people say I do a tremendous job. And Rich Valdez does a tremendous job, I can tell you that. He's a fantastic person.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I do want to ask about a New York Times investigation showing that Democrats are losing registered voters In all 30 states that track party registration, we're putting on the screen the data. It shows altogether Democrats have lost 2.1 million voters. Republicans have gained 2.4 million. That's a deficit that you have of 4.5 million voters. Why are voters turning away from your party? What is the problem?
Most of that activity, as I understand it, has occurred in Florida and Texas. Certainly it is the case that nationally we're going to have to invest more in these two red states. At the end of the day, it's also going to be important for us to continue to make clear to the American people what we stand for as Democrats. And the more we can lean into...
Hakeem Jeffries, what do you stand for? What is it that the Democrats stand for today? I don't know, but I'd love for you guys to give me a call. Let's go ahead and go to Mel. Mel is in Albany, New York, WGDJ. Mel, go right ahead.
Good evening, Rich. The woman that the congresswoman was talking about, the levels of crime that are acceptable to the American people, hijackings, beatings, and so on, she couldn't be more off base with that. With the desire of the Trump deranged syndrome of not asking him for help in order to get the crime level down in these blue states is just absolutely absurd. Hakeem Jeffries and all the others, I am so sick and tired of their distorting the facts, outright lies, that I would actually like to sit back and let Trump say, you know what, you want to do it on your own. Grab a bag of popcorn and watch these states, cities, and towns burn to the ground. And then
I'll tell you this, Mel. We've actually been watching that happen, right? That's how we got to this problem. Look, I'm a native New Yorker. I live across the water now, on the other side of the Hudson now. But I can tell you, I go to the city all the time. Our studio's in the city. And when I see the things that I see in New York City, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And New York has fallen so far awry from where it ought to be. And this is why, because we've allowed the Democrats to keep doing what they're doing. Keep your lies going. We went from Bill de Blasio to this man, Eric Adams. This man's an absolute disgrace. His police chief was arrested for corruption. His administration just 2 days ago, I forget, a senior advisor, deputy chief of staff, arrested for corruption, right? He's months away from a re-election campaign, a primary he could not win, and is losing and lost, right? He lost to a communist. I'm telling you that in New York, we're sitting back and watching the Democrats implode, and it's not a pretty sight. Too many people in the collateral damage. But Mel, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. WGDJ. We continue. Let's go to our favorite dissenter, David, San Francisco, California, KSFO. Go right ahead.
Well, thanks, Rich. Listening to that psychologist, or was he a psychiatrist, that was breaking down Epstein's motivations and his mindset, I don't know if you've ever gotten the courage to take a look at that movie, The Apprentice, the one that was written about Donald Trump being the apprentice to the evil lawyer Roy Cohn in New York City. But I would have, if I had gotten on with that psychiatrist, I would have asked if the training that Donald Trump received from Roy Cohn, then Donald Trump goes over to Jeffrey Epstein and gets additional training. So
I don't think that we could call it training. I mean, it's really, this is, I love a good dissenting opinion, but David, this is really, I don't know. How do you, where do you come off? He had a lawyer. Roy Cohn was his lawyer, and because he was older, served a little bit as a mentor, but I wouldn't say he gave him training. He gave him legal advice. And as such, he learned to be a very shrewd businessman as a result of this legal advice. His dad probably gave him more training than Roy Cohn did. But that aside, now saying that Trump went to Epstein for training. I mean, that's like me just coming out of nowhere and saying that you've gone to Fidel Castro for training in your more Marxist way of thinking. It would be baseless. I have no idea what you've done with those things. The only thing we know is that Trump was at a party dancing next to Jeffrey Epstein, and that they've had some meetings. But to sit here and try and surmise that this was something beyond that. He's never been to the guy's house, never been to the island. I don't see how we could, come with this 2 + 2. But this is the world you live in, right? You get to fill in the blanks with whatever you like. And I guess that's why the Democrats have lost as many voters as they have. 2.1 million and counting, jumping ship. David, good luck to you, brother. I hope that your guy, Gavin Newsom, gets in. I hope that your guy, Bernie Sanders, gets into the race. I'd love to see them duke it out. David, KSFO, thank you, sir. Amigos, we're coming right back. Texas, Florida, Illinois. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, let's go to Fort Worth, Texas, WTMA. Greg, go right ahead quickly. Speed round.
Hi, Rich. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I've been
Pleasure.
a fan of Mark Levin's for years, and when I found out that you had got your own show, I had to listen. And I always appreciate your point of view and your fair arguments and all that. So I think with the with the Cracker Barrel, debacle, to me the logo is minor compared to the major change they're going to make in the interior. And it's a very, you could say homey, inviting. I mean, it may be dark when you look up at the ceiling in the dining area, but where you're eating, the tables are well lit. The walls are very interesting. They have Americana everywhere. Some of those old steel signs that they used to make for advertisements and everything, and things that my mom appreciates. And so I took my grandkids there a few days ago because I want them to experience it in case it goes away. And
hopefully it doesn't go away. I mean, from the conversations that we've had. But I get your point. You want to hold on to as much of the tradition as possible. And listen, I think this is what President Trump said about listening to your customers. That's the ultimate poll. So I think you're right. And thank you for your kind words and for tuning in, Greg. I appreciate it. Shout out to you and WTMA. And let me see if we can do this. Tim, Springfield, Illinois, WTAX. You've got less than half a minute. Go ahead, quickly.
Oh, okay, real quick. Branding is what they've done to the Republican Party as far as branding them racist.
Right, you're right. They've been trying to brand the Republicans as racist for a long time, but I think you're accurate when you say that people are waking up, and it's working out, and they're hurting themselves, the Democrats. Tim, thanks for your call. Eduardo, thanks for your call. Amigos, God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.